Okay, this month we're talking about strength versus power exercises, and the main difference between a strength exercise and a power exercise is the components of speed. For most of us in the general population, strength exercises are going to be adequate. It's done in a controlled manner with certain tempo, which we'll get into later. For competitive athletes, like it could be of any age, you need to train explosively to develop power to compete in your sport or movement. I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. One is going to be a Romanian deadlift. You can do this with a kettlebell. It's just going to be a hip extensor movement, hamstrings and glutes involved as movers. And we're going to start off similar to the single leg Romanian deadlift, except we're going to be on both feet, of course. Shin angle stays perpendicular. It's a hip hinging movement. We're sliding the hips back. We're not dropping down to a squat movement. So for the Romanian deadlift, we're bringing the hips back. Spine stays straight, just like the plank position. We're coming back up, extending at the hips. Okay, so this is a strength exercise, hip extensor exercise, hamstrings and glutes. Now if I add speed into it, it becomes a kettlebell swing. It's going to be very similar. Thing is, we're going to bring the kettlebell back behind our knees. Body stays in a plank position, hip to head. And we're rapidly extending the hips with speed now. There is momentum being created. That's okay, but the important factor is getting quick extensor movement at the hip. So I'm popping the kettlebell, not having it rise above the shoulder height, because we don't need to get into that, but I'm decelerating with the shoulders, stopping, forcing back down. Not going into a squat movement. It's a hip hinge movement. Popping it up there. If I were to actually take my hand off the kettlebell, it would float in midair because I'm using momentum. That's a power exercise versus a Romanian deadlift, which is a strength exercise. The other variation is a med ball slam. Okay, if I were to do a slow movement in a med ball slam pattern, it would turn into be what we call a wood chop. Okay, if I make it a faster movement, becomes a med ball slam. Two different purposes, two different movements, speed the key component.